Life often feels like you're on this carefully plotted course, right? You make your plans, you chase your ambitions, and then bam, out of nowhere, you hit a massive detour. Sometimes it's more than just a detour. It feels like the whole map just
Exactly.
exploded, a complete breakdown. But what if that breakdown wasn't really an ending? What if it was the unexpected start of something, well, something truly profound? Today, we're taking a deep dive into exactly that kind of journey. We're exploring the incredibly raw, honest, and I think ultimately empowering story of Gong, Reuben Juma Onunga. It's all documented in his powerful book, Lessons from Surviving Bipolar. So, our mission here for you listening isn't just to recount Reuben's story, it's really to pull out the universal lessons, the wisdom from his personal experience with bipolar disorder. We want to show how a moment of deep crisis can actually forge a path to a breakthrough, revealing these timeless truths about resilience, about healing, and finding a deeper purpose that honestly resonates with anyone facing tough challenges.
And that's such a crucial point because as you'll quickly see from the sources, Rubin's book, it's not some dry clinical manual. Not at all. His own mentor actually calls it a mirror, a message, and a ministry. It's just forged directly from the fire of his lived experience. What's really unique, I think, is the perspective it offers on mental illness. It moves way beyond just the clinical definitions. It speaks so compellingly of healing and wisdom and genuine transformation. It's really a testament to the human spirit and faith in the face of some pretty profound struggles.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Where did Reuben's journey into this transformative experience actually begin? It was 2017, just days before his birthday, which is kind of poignant. He describes what started as this incredible, almost like a surge. High energy, big ideas, no sleep, really intense emotions. But instead of leading to, some creative breakthrough, it spiraled really quickly into what was later diagnosed as a grandiose psychotic episode. It's hard to even imagine that sudden shift, feeling on top of the world one minute full of inspiration and then the next, just completely disoriented, disconnected. Yeah, he talks about that period. Feeling like he was on a spiritual mission, moving at the speed of light, connecting all these ideas with absolute conviction. But this is the key part. Despite that intense internal experience, he was actually, as he puts it, disconnected from reality. So for him, it felt divine, heightened, significant. But to everyone else around him, he seemed off, confused, maybe even unpredictable. It just highlights that sometimes heartbreaking gap between our inner world and how others see us, especially during a mental health crisis.
Right. And what's fascinating here is how the eventual diagnosis, getting that label of bipolar disorder, it just fundamentally changed things for Reuben. His self-perception shifted. That label, yeah, it was initially a shock, absolutely. But ultimately, it forced him to confront this completely new reality. It kicked off what he calls a long, slow journey. This involved therapy and, unfortunately, a relapse about 2 years later in 2019. It wasn't until after that, really, that he fully embraced the discipline and the faith required for his recovery. It was clearly no quick fix. It was a winding, really challenging path. And through that shattering experience, Reuben gained something. I think it's a pretty radical realization, a core insight for all of us, really. He understood that the breakdown was not a punishment. That's huge. He saw it as an interruption, a divine wake-up call, even a necessary shattering that made room for a new way of living. Just think about that framing. He realized this interruption wasn't just random chaos. It was actually a catalyst. It forced him, really forced him, to confront these ignored parts of himself, things like unprocessed grief, maybe that unrelenting ambition we'll talk about later. And it led him towards a new way of living, one that is slower, wiser, more intentional. That's a powerful reorientation, and it can happen for anyone after a major life disruption, not just with bipolar disorder.
It's really remarkable, isn't it? How he managed to reframe such intense pain like that. It makes me wonder, though, when everything felt so chaotic, what were the anchors? What did he actually cling to? He talks quite a bit about the foundational role of faith and resilience, even when his own mind felt, completely fragmented. He put it so powerfully. He said, it wasn't motivation that got me through, it was conviction. Wow, the conviction that my life still had meaning. That just speaks volumes, doesn't it? Finding that inner strength when everything outside is just overwhelming. And he also found solid ground in some powerful scriptural insights. They really anchored him. He mentioned Proverbs 24:16, that verse saying, though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again. Oh. And then also Romans 5, verses 3 to 4, which talks about how suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. Oh. For Reuben, these weren't just nice verses. They were like guiding principles, a powerful reminder that setbacks are just part of the journey, not the end of it. And that true character often gets forged in those really difficult fires.
Exactly. And what we see happening here is Reuben turning resilience from just like a passive hope into an active daily discipline, a practice. He learned to see his symptoms not as failures, but as signals. cues, really. To pause, maybe adjust his course. So this meant, practically speaking, diligently tracking his moods, making guarding his sleep an absolute priority, eating intentionally. And critically, it also involved that really humbling but ultimately liberating step of letting go of pride, learning to ask for help. He truly seemed to embody his belief that true strength is found in surrender. It's that recognition, isn't it, that we just can't do everything alone.
Yeah, that surrender piece is huge. And just as vital as that act of resilience was, he also highlights the crucial role of patience. An often frustrating role, let's be honest. Reuben's painful realization was that healing is rarely immediate. That's tough to swallow. Recovery does not come with shortcuts. I needed years, not days, to truly recover. That really flies in the face of our whole instant gratification culture, doesn't it? It's a message I think many of us probably need to hear in our own struggles, whether it's personal growth or healing from something specific.
It absolutely does. And Reuben really emphasizes this profound insight that God does deep work in long waits. He leaned on timeless wisdom, like from Ecclesiastes, for everything there is a season. You know, that famous passage.
Yeah.
And also Psalm 37, be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. This profound acceptance of waiting, it taught him to trust the process, the healing process itself, to accept his limitations, and to embrace what he calls a slower, deeper rhythm of life. It's a universal truth, really. Nothing truly valuable grows quickly. It requires time, patience, nurturing.
Okay, so moving from those sort of internal pillars, the faith, resilience, patience. Reuben then pivots to the really actionable, practical changes he made, things he did to manage stress and foster stability day to day. And these aren't just for someone managing bipolar disorder, right? These are concrete steps anyone can take if they're facing overwhelm or just seeking more balanced, healthier life. Like, for instance, his commitment to physical exercise. It became non-negotiable for him. He found that movement was more than a health tip. It was medicine. That's a powerful way to put it. So regular walking, light workouts, even conscious breathing exercises, they weren't just about fitness in the typical sense. They became essential tools for improving his sleep, his mental clarity, and even processing his emotions. He really saw his body as an ally in his healing journey.
Yeah, and that ties directly into his adoption of a vegan lifestyle. Like you said, Reuben wasn't just jumping on a trend here. He describes it as a conscious decision to cleanse and nourish my body. He focused on cutting out processed foods, really recognizing that deep, often underestimated connection between gut health and mental well-being. It reflects that broader principle, doesn't it? Honoring your body, maybe like the biblical idea of it being a temple, recognizing its vital role in your overall health. He leaned into that.
He also embraced rest and rhythm. Specifically, he talks about the ancient practice of keeping the Sabbath. For him, this meant consciously choosing to be unplugged from work, pressure, and the demands of production for one full day each week. Now, this isn't just about religious observance, though it was for him. It's a powerful principle of intentional rest for anyone. It reminds us that we aren't machines, right? We're designed for these cycles of work and then deep rejuvenation.
Building right on that, Reuben underscores sleep as the sacred reset. He calls it a non-negotiable pillar of mental health, a pillar. He really understood that it's during sleep that the brain detoxifies itself, it resets, it heals. All that crucial background work happens then. So he created strict routines, things like dimming lights hours before bed, avoiding screens, basically acknowledging that neglecting sleep was just too high a price to pay for his mental stability. It really echoes that wisdom you find in Isaiah. In repentance and rest is your salvation, in quietness and trust is your strength. It's a beautiful reminder that sometimes the most productive thing you can possibly do is just rest.
And then there's the huge aspect of community and social health. This was critical too. He learned, maybe the hard way, to choose relationships wisely, to deliberately spend time with people who brought life and energy, not drained it. And he also learned the power of setting emotional boundaries. That's a big one. Stopping himself from internalizing other people's problems, or feeling crushed by the weight of their expectations. It's about recognizing that you can offer support without carrying burdens that aren't actually yours to carry. Which reminds me of that verse in Matthew, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Finding rest by setting those boundaries.
Right. So in essence, what Reuben did was transform managing stress from just reacting when things got bad into a proactive, ongoing lifestyle. He learned to kind of anticipate the storms, build his shelter early by listening to those subtle warnings from his body and mind, and then responding with grace, not guilt or self-criticism. It's a holistic, really intentional approach to guarding your well-being that truly offers a blueprint for anyone seeking greater stability in their life.
That whole journey from feeling profound personal pain to then finding this powerful public purpose, it's truly inspiring, isn't it? Reuben initially wrestled with a lot of shame around his diagnosis. He just wanted to forget it ever happened. But over time, he started to realize that his story wasn't something to hide. It was potentially a lifeline, a bridge, a light for someone else. That transformation from feeling like a victim to becoming a mentor, that's a powerful shift. And he started small, just sharing his journey, maybe one-on-one with young people who are struggling with anxiety or depression, just becoming a listening ear, maybe a bit of a guide. It really embodies that spirit of 2 Corinthians, the part about being able to comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God. And Khan, it's that profound idea of using our own healed wounds to help others navigate their own struggles.
Yeah, and this raises such an important question for all of us, really. How do we break the silence around mental illness? Especially in cultures, maybe like some African cultures he mentions, where it's often deeply misunderstood or carries heavy stigma. Reuben's story became, in effect, a powerful weapon against that stigma. He stepped into this vital role as a mental health ambassador, using national TV, radio, social media, whatever platforms he could, to break silence and point others toward hope. This isn't just like a religious calling, though it felt like that for him. It's a universal call to advocacy, to speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, as Proverbs advises. And he discovered something important through that. Advocacy isn't about having all the perfect answers or being some kind of flawless expert for others. It's more about being willing to be seen, to be heard, and to give others permission to do the same, just creating that space. For Reuben, this became a new kind of ministry, as he calls it, a calling to use his healed life to serve others. And it really shows us that sometimes our greatest struggles can actually become our greatest contributions, can't they?
Absolutely. Now let's talk about another challenge, one that's maybe universal, something many of us, myself included, probably can relate to: unchecked ambition. Reuben describes his life before the diagnosis as intensely driven, fueled by vision, urgency, and a relentless desire to achieve. He talks about often striving, overreaching, and rarely stopping, which, gosh, in our modern world where hustle culture is so glorified, that sounds pretty familiar, doesn't it? So what did this intense drive ultimately mean for Reuben? Well, his profound realization was that ambition unchecked can become a dangerous fire, that it actually contributed to his mental collapse. So he learned through recovery to redefine success, moving away from chasing titles towards pursuing impact, shifting from valuing speed to valuing faithfulness, made him ask these really critical questions about his priorities. It kind of echoes that timeless, challenging wisdom in Mark's gospel. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? It forces all of us, really, to question what we're truly chasing after and why.
Right. And then he moved practically to choosing margin over multitasking, intentionally scheduling less in his day. And in doing so, paradoxically, he found he achieved more peace, more clarity, more sustainable progress, not less. He discovered that margin isn't just wasted space on the calendar. It's sacred ground where true growth and maybe even creativity can actually happen. It's a powerful, universally applicable principle. By slowing down, by deliberately creating space, we often achieve more meaningful, lasting results. Again, it brings back that Isaiah verse, doesn't it? In quietness and trust is your strength. Strength found in the quiet spaces.
And as he navigated this whole recovery process, he also identified the importance of guarding against extremes. This is interesting. It's that natural human temptation, isn't it, to overcorrect? You swing from instability, maybe chaos, to this other extreme of rigidity, whether that's spiritual rigidity or emotional or even intellectual. You swing the pendulum way too far in the other direction, maybe out of fear or just this desperate need for control after feeling out of control.
Exactly. Reuben learned that moderation, as he puts it, I discovered, is strength, not weakness. So he consciously avoided what he called spiritual frenzy by valuing stillness and quiet reflection instead. He practiced those emotional boundaries we talked about, but without becoming cold or detached. And he limited intellectual overanalysis, finding peace and accepting mystery sometimes, rather than needing all the answers neatly tied up. Philippians offers beautiful guidance here. Let your moderation be known unto all men. Be known for your gentleness, your balance. His conclusion on this: balance is not bland, it is beautiful. It's about finding that sweet spot, that gentle, sustainable rhythm in life.
What an incredible journey, really. Ultimately, Reuben's story, for me, it distills down into one really overarching theme, that love heals and purpose restores. He keeps reiterating that even after profound pain, life can still be beautiful, it can be deeply meaningful, and it's rooted in this powerful, persistent idea that your purpose is not done.
That's just a message of profound, enduring hope, I think, for anyone out there who feels lost or feels like their story is over. Absolutely. His journey really leaves us with this enduring, hard-won truth. Healing is possible. Clarity will return. Joy will find you again. And
Yeah.
these aren't just, easy platitudes or nice words. They feel like battle-tested assurances. They come from someone who walked through the absolute deepest valley and emerged with wisdom, hard-earned wisdom, to share with the rest of us.
And so that leaves us with a final, maybe provocative thought for you, the listener, to consider as we wrap up. What pain in your life, if you were to surrender it, reflect upon it, allow it to be transformed, what pain could become your greatest source of wisdom and purpose? Perhaps your own breakdowns, whatever they look like, are actually potential breakthroughs, just waiting to be discovered, invitations maybe to a deeper, more intentional, more beautiful life, something to think about. Keep walking, keep growing, keep living.